Namaste everyone, ChristianRLong, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Tuesday afternoon. It's about 2:30 p.m. here in Denver, Colorado, and you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, you've been doing all these streams in the evening, but the past couple days you're doing these streams in the morning and early afternoon. What is going on? I'm just mixing up a little bit. We can do the streams in the evening too. I'm seeing Adriana, Namaste. I'm seeing who comes on at what time of the day for the streams. Songi, Namaste, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I think you guys will really appreciate today's story because it recently happened. So, Stephen, Namaste. I'm not at the beach. Michelle, Namaste. I'm noticing a lot of similar beautiful souls are coming onto these streams no matter what time of day or night we do them. As you guys know, if this is your very, very first time logging in to one of these streams, we talk about three things: energy healing, meditation, and practical spirituality, all for the purpose of improving the quality of our lives on a material and physical level, as well as on a spiritual, non-physical level. And last night was actually very, very interesting. So many of you know that this past month, the month of March, I went to 3 different events. 2 of them were our Hatha Yoga retreats that are once a year. And during these retreats, you get a tremendous amount of healing, a tremendous amount of energy. And those energies, Namaste, those energies can stir up a lot of things within you. And the last time I did back-to-back retreats, East Coast, West Coast, was actually in 2017. 2017, I did back-to-back retreats, and Lord, did my life get stirred up. Not necessarily internally, not like my life was falling apart internally, but externally, many, many, many different things were happening. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, which that was very surprising and how that went down. I ended up going to Fairfield, Iowa for 2 months and doing 2 months of inner work of deep meditations, self-healing, working with clients all day long in this Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. Steven! My soul wanted to clear 10 lifetimes of karma plus clear my ancestral karma, or so it seems. Best be careful bragging about how much crap I can handle in one lifetime. That's a good point. That's actually a very good point, which will kind of lead into today's talk. So that was the last time, that was 2 years ago, that I did back-to-back retreats. Michelle, well, I'm on a lot more lately because I was in a vehicle accident in December, so I've been able to join you in these beautiful souls. That makes sense. I like the green hearts. It's very Irish and very St. Patrick's-like. Didn't we just have St. Patrick's Day recently, last weekend? Maybe a couple weekends ago. Anyways, it's all kind of blending together. So this year, we did back-to-back retreats, East Coast, then West Coast. So things have been getting stirred up, right? And not necessarily in an internal way that I feel like my life is falling apart in any way, shape, or form, but I'm seeing a lot of things shifting in my external world. And as we talk about in pranic healing, as within, so without, as above, so below, whatever, Marcella, Namaste, whatever you want to change in the outer world, you must first change within yourself. That's what makes inner work so interesting, because we don't realize all the inner work that we're doing day after day, week after week, month after month, is there's a lag time for us to see that in our physical reality. So we sit down and we have a meditation, right? And then the benefits or effect of that meditation may not appear to us for a week, a month, 6 months, a year. If we receive a blessing or a Shakti pot from a great, great spiritual teacher, we may feel really good in the moment that we're receiving the Shakti pot, but we won't necessarily see how that shows up in our lives for, who knows, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, even a lifetime after that, depending upon what kind of blessing it is and for what purpose it is and for the soul. So that leads us into today's point and today's talk, is that your higher soul will use whatever's necessary, internally or externally, to bring you closer to it. Does that make sense? So, last night, right before bed, I think I was heading to bed around 10 o'clock in the evening, and I was, going through some going through some conversations. Elizabeth, Abba Namaste, going through some conversations in my head, finishing up some things I was working with clients, following up with some friends of mine, and things were starting to get stirred up. And I was like, well, where is this coming from, right? I'm trying to practice awareness. With awareness, we can transform, but you have to have inner reflection, then awareness, and then inner transformation. So I'm kind of like going through like, all right, what's coming up for me? What am I feeling right now? What am I thinking right now? Where is this going? What am I not seeing? Where are my blind spots, right? And I'm lying in bed, and I'm doing one of the practices that I've been taught over the years to connect to the higher self. And I'm kind of having a conversation with my higher self. I said, look, not in an aggressive way, in a respectful and reverent way, because the higher self is you, if that makes sense. So people think that there's them and then there's some other energy or entity separate from them, right? And that's not really accurate. What you see physically with your physical eyes, right, your physical body, is the smallest part of you. Yet 95% of all the problems, quote unquote problems we experience in the world, is from this perspective, is from our physical reality, our physical bodies. What we have to realize is that the higher soul, which is also us, is constantly pouring down its blessings, constantly pouring down its energies, constantly pouring down its wisdom, constantly pouring down its understanding, constantly pouring down all these virtuous qualities. It's our personalities and our egos that are getting in the way of assimilating that, right? And that's where free will comes into play. We have free will to be a barbarian and to do whatever we want, whenever we want, to whomever we want, right? Or we have the free will to be noble, to be holy, to be like a saint, right? Many of us, including myself, are not there yet. We're not diligently ever walking the path of righteousness or the path of the Tao. We're kind of like swinging like a pendulum. Like sometimes we're saint-like and we're holy, and then other times we're barbaric and savages. And it just kind of swings until eventually we're in the middle path and we're in alignment with the higher soul that's best for us. So as I'm laying in bed, I'm tapping in, I'm connecting to the higher soul, I'm having a conversation with the higher soul, reverently, gratefully. I'm doing my best to listen, not to push my own agenda, my own personality. But in essence, the conversation was, look, I'm here to be of service. I'm here to have my suffering alleviated. I'm here to be in alignment with you because you are me and I am you, and you are the big boss of this situation, right? I could let my lower chakras, my lower energy centers, my lower nature run the show, right? The urges of my lower nature could run the show. Or I can be in alignment with the calling of the higher self and let the higher self run the show. And that's where the battle is always taking place. It's not externally. There is no battle between you and other people. The battle is from within. It's the incarnated soul battling the higher soul. It's the incarnated soul resisting the call of the higher soul. It's like, do I want to be a savage today? Or do I want to be a saint today? Right? And we always, always, always have that choice. We always have that choice. That's where free will comes into play. Look, at the end of the day, we're all going towards illumination. We're all going towards oneness with God, oneness with all. Where the choice comes into play is how quickly we do that. So, I'm kind of a little frustrated. I'm like, come on, higher soul. I'm trying to do this correctly. I'm trying to live this life in alignment with the calling that you have for my life. Maybe I'm not supposed to be completely enlightened in this lifetime, So what is it? Like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to show up? How can I best serve at my level of understanding and comprehension, right? And I felt some energy come down. I felt some insights come in. And then I went to bed. Pretty shortly thereafter. Maybe 5-10 minutes later, I dozed off. And then at 12:35 in the morning, I awoke from one of the most intense, one of the most vivid, one of the most symbolic dreams I'd ever had in this incarnation, in 38 years of dreaming. And I wouldn't say I remember all of my dreams. That's not an accurate statement. But I do remember a lot of my dreams. This dream was so powerful that when I awoke at 12:35 a.m. this morning, I was like, the very first thing that came into my mind was, I have to write this down. And I have a big resistance to getting myself out of my slumber because it takes a very long time for me to get back to bed. So if something wakes me up in the middle of the night, I don't know about you guys, but if something wakes me up in the middle of the night, it's going to take me a hot minute to go back to sleep. 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So the last thing I want to do is, turn the lights on, get a pen out, get a notepad out, and start, detailing my dream. But something deep within inside me said, you got to write this down, you got to write this down, you got to write this down. It's very, very important. So I was like, So I'm like stumbling around in the dark in my apartment, and I find the pen, I find the notepad, and I like stumble it into this desk area right here, and I'm just kind of like, banging the light, having it go on. I was like, I hope this doesn't disturb my sleep so much. And then I wrote about a page worth of notes about this dream, about this experience. And people have to realize that it's the individual's job at the end of the day to do dream interpretation, right? We have a dream, we want to know what the dream means, and we reach out to everybody and their mother to find out, what does that dream mean? Hey, can you provide clarity? But at the end of the day, you are the one that has to do the inner work. Sudhir, namaste. You are the one that has to do the inner work to find out what the symbolism and the meaning of that dream is and how it relates to your day-to-day life. Because, again, this is going back to practical spirituality. So you might be asking the question, well, why did I sit down and write it out? Because when you sit down and you write something out, you're dropping the energy from very subtle to more dense. Because a dream is very subtle. How many of us have a really powerful dream? We wake up in 5 minutes, Chetnam and Namaste, and we wake up after 5 minutes and we can't remember any of the dream. No details, no symbolism, no nothing. Juriyam and Namaste, right? Happens a lot. But by sitting down and writing out as much as you can possibly remember, Suzanne, Namaste, remember that steps it down, makes it more dense, and allows your brain to register the higher frequencies. So that's why I was called. It definitely wasn't my personality calling me. It was definitely the higher soul calling me. It was, you got to write this down. You got to write this down. You got to write this down. I haven't reviewed the notes. I pretty much still remember most of the dream. And the dream was extremely potent. It was very powerful. It had a lot of feelings. It had a lot of brightness. It had a lot of things connected to areas of my life that I'm working on. Things that I'm not so... not that I'm not so proud of. It's things that I'm aware of, that I'm consistently and persistently working on, but I'm not making the speed of progress that I would like. You have something in your life that you're like, I know I got to work on this. I'm working on this, but it's not moving as quickly as I would like it to. That's kind of the feeling. It's like, like you want to lose 20 pounds and you're going to the gym, you're watching your diet, you're doing your sleep patterns properly, but after a month, you've lost 2 pounds. And you're like, this is ridiculous. I've been doing this for a month and I've only lost 2 pounds. I still have 18 pounds more to go. That's that kind of frustration or energy around it. But practicing patience, practicing kindness, practicing awareness, practicing understanding, these qualities will help bring you from where you are to where you want to go. So Michelle says, this is exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you for sharing. I had an amazing dream last week. I haven't written it down yet, but I remember it's so clear even now. Wow, that's pretty good after a week of doing that. What allows us to remember our dreams is how much Kundalini energy is in our brain. People say, my Kundalini is awakened. Well, if your Kundalini wasn't awakened, you'd be dead. So every single living human being has Kundalini awakened in their system. The question to ask is, to what degree is the Kundalini awakened within the individual? So, when Kundalini gets awakened, that Kundalini energy goes into the brain, it feeds the brain, and it makes the brain more sensitive to subtle energies. So if you want to remember your dreams better, and you want to remember what you're doing and where you're going in your meditations, you have to awaken your Kundalini. And that's a whole practice in and of itself that's taught in a greater form in Arhatic Yoga that was developed by Grandmaster Choa Kuk Sui. There is a meditation specifically for Kundalini, okay? But that's outside of topic. So the point of today's stream is your higher soul will use any and all means necessary in order to get you to listen. Because here's the thing. The higher soul is always transmitting energy, constantly, never-endingly, relentlessly, like Amazon. Relentlessly communicating energy, blessings, and always downpouring it to you. The factor is our personality. The factor is our lack of purity. The factor is our blockages, our obstacles, our impediments, our blind spots within our energy bodies, preventing us from accessing that wisdom. Does that make sense? So we are the determining factors as to connecting to our higher souls or not. Because the higher soul is constantly pouring down the energy. We have the choice of listening or not listening. That's where our free will comes into play. And the higher soul, like I said, will use any means necessary to get you to listen to it. Last night, before I went to bed, I was like, how can I connect more to you? How can I be more in alignment with you? How can I let go of the past? How can I let go of old programs, old ways of being? How can I let go of things that are keeping me stuck from helping more people, to healing more people, to being a greater instrument of goodwill and the will to do good? And that very, very vivid dream that night, only 2.5 hours later, which is a weird time to be dreaming. I can't remember ever dreaming that early in the night and waking up that vividly. Never have I woken up like that from a dream before. And I was like, gotta write this down. So, but yeah, there's an old saying that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. So we spend so much time of our lives telling God, telling the great ones what we need, want, and desire, but how often do we still ourselves and listen to the messages that will give us our answer and that will guide us and that will alleviate our suffering and that will move our lives forward, right? And that's what makes pranic healing so beautiful as a healing modality, is we're removing the noise, we're removing the inner noise that somebody has that prevents them from hearing the whisper of the higher soul, right? Which is kind of interesting because it's not really a whisper. It's a whisper for people who are not sensitized. But as you continue to evolve, the whisper turns into a calling and then a screaming. Have you ever had an experience in your life where you're about to do something really, really stupid and you can almost see yourself from above and you can hear something saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that? That thing that is saying don't do that, that's the higher soul. In psychology, they call it the conscience. And then what do? We end up doing the very thing that we know we shouldn't be doing. Lack of receptivity, negative pride, lack of humility, lack of faith, lack of trust, all of those things. But we have to be kind to ourselves. There's so much intricacies in what is necessary to move our lives forward, what is necessary to evolve. As one of the master pranic healers says, no one becomes a saint by accident, right? So it takes time to become a saint. And most of us, if not all of us, will not achieve sainthood in this lifetime, in this incarnation, but we're laying the groundwork and the foundation to be saint-like in future incarnations. I mean, it's interesting. I see a lot of spiritual practitioners and a lot of yogis jump around, like House of Pain. Jump around. They jump from this school to that school to this church to that church to this meditation practice to that meditation practice, because they have certain expectations that are not being met or fulfilled, or they're looking for the silver bullet to accomplish enlightenment, and it doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a silver bullet. There are faster ways to achieve illumination. Like, for instance, you can meditate. Meditation is a very fast way to achieve enlightenment. But if you do meditation and service together, that's faster than meditation alone or service alone. Does that make sense? So there's many ways to get fit. You can exercise to get fit, or you can change your nutrition to get fit. But if you combine both of them, you'll get fit faster. So yes, there are some schools, some spiritual schools that are more advanced than others, but not everyone wants to be an Olympian. Does that make sense? Not everyone wants to work out 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for a decade in order to be qualified into the Olympics. But some people do, and those practitioners are the highest practitioners in their field in the world. But how many people want to make that commitment? How many people want to make that sacrifice? How many people are that determined and that diligent and that persistent to do that routine for a decade or more? Not many people. So you have to find that sweet spot for you. You have to find your spiritual practice that you can consistently and persistently practice, even if it's 5 minutes a day. And then over time, you bring it to 10 minutes, to 15 minutes, to 20 minutes. You add this aspect and that aspect and this aspect, right? But that's entirely up to the individual. But if you try to take a new person and immediately bring them into an advanced practice, they're going to burn out in a week or two. There's no way they can sustain it. Same thing with fitness. A person who's out of shape trying to do what an Olympian does, they're gonna end up injuring their physical bodies. So doing intense spiritual practices when you're not ready can injure not just your physical body, but your energy body, and do a lot of damage to you. That's actually partly why Grandmaster Chola Koksui, the modern founder of pranic healing or Hatha Yoga, aged so quickly, because he was experimenting with very high-level meditation and spiritual practices that aged his body prematurely. Barbara, namaste. So we are the benefactors of Grandmaster Chola Koksui's sacrifice and his willingness to experiment on himself before revealing these higher technologies and techniques to the general public. Make sense? Is that clear, everybody? So our higher soul will use any and all means necessary to get us to listen. Through a book, audio program, a YouTube video, an interaction with somebody on the streets, an accident, a car accident, a health issue. This is a big one that I want a lot of you to pay attention to. Is there's a misunderstanding in the world of spirituality that they say, oh, you're taking advantage of people in their time of need. And I thought to myself, so would you say the same thing for a doctor who charges $150,000 to $200,000 for cancer treatments that are not guaranteed? The person has cancer. They're told that this treatment can help them. There's an 85% success rate. There's a 50% success rate. There's a 15% success rate. And people don't question that. People don't say the doctor is taking advantage of that person, right? Because that's the doctor's income, that's their livelihood. So how is it any different from a spiritual practitioner, a spiritual counselor, an energy healer, energy medicine practitioner? How is that any different? I mean, last time I checked, I never charged anyone $150,000 to $200,000 for healings, right? So the higher soul gives us, how to say this accurately, when we experience a crisis in our lives, a relationship crisis, Alex, Abba Namaste, a relationship crisis, a health crisis, a financial crisis, even what do they call it? An existential crisis, where what is the meaning of it all? When we have a crisis in our lives, what does that force us to do? It forces us to go up. It forces us to go up. It forces us to ask questions. It forces us to be open and receptive to spirituality, open and receptive to deeper, higher quality answers for our lives. Right? So it's not ambulance chasing, and it's not taking advantage of people. Are there people who take advantage of people who are in crisis, who have hit rock bottom? Absolutely. And then there's other people who are there to help, to guide, to serve, to bring that person from where they are, rock bottom, and bring them back on top in a very short period of time. And then that person now has a good frame of reference for spirituality. And they go, wow, when I was at rock bottom, this spiritual practitioner, this healer, this coach helped me out of that. But there are people who are at rock bottom, and then somebody will take advantage of them, and then they'll go, see, you can't trust these kinds of people, you can't trust this kind of person, etc., etc. And that's understandable, but that's not accurate thinking. That's not accurate perception, correct expression. I hope this is making sense. I hope you guys are getting it. I hope I'm not talking over anybody's head, but the higher soul will use anything available to get that person, to get that personality to wake up. Unfortunately, we have a lot of pain, and through pain, people can wake up. But I learned something the hard way. Lori, Namaste, that you do not need to experience a lot of pain to wake up. You do not need to experience a lot of suffering to wake up. You do not have to hit rock bottom to wake up. I remember one of the master pranic healers said this to me many, many years ago when I was going through a very difficult and dark time in my life. She said, I wish you would reach out to me when you go from here to here versus going from here to here. Because it's easier to bring you up from here to here than from here all the way back up. Does that make sense? And this is where negative pride shows up. I don't need help. I don't need healing. I don't need anybody. I got this. I got this all figured out. Okay, great. You're going to suffer even more. Why? To make you more receptive. Because when you're receptive, you pull in energy. You move your life forward. So Anna says, it's making sense. I was thinking about it yesterday. Higher soul usually screams and shouts indeed. Yeah. The bigger the mistake that you're about to make, the louder that inner voice is, the louder your higher soul is. And when I say loud, I don't mean like a volume. I mean an energy. I mean, yeah, it's not a volume thing that I'm saying, screaming or shouting or yelling. It's not a volume thing. It's an energy deep within you that permeates through you to get you to transform, to get you to wake up, to get your head out of your butt. And by the way, everything I'm sharing with you, I'm as guilty, if not more guilty, than you guys. I might be a little further along the spiritual path than some of you because I've studied this and worked with this for 20 years and have helped thousands of people over the past 20 years. But I still struggle with my thoughts, my emotions, my actions, my words, because I'm still human. I'm still in the process of growing, evolving, making mistakes, and it's all good, right? That's how it is. So we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to have a little bit of remorse, a little bit of grief, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of regret. Why? Because that forces us to transform and move forward. But when you make it excessive, you just stay stuck in a rut and you don't move anywhere. And that doesn't do you any good, it doesn't do your purpose any good, and it doesn't do anyone around you any good. A little bit of those things is okay. Excessiveness is where the problem is. We covered a lot of topics today, huh? All over the place, just because of one very profound dream that this body had this morning. And that's it, guys. So, that being said, if you are in need of healing, which we all are, go to my website, ChristianRLong.com/services. Sign up for a distant pranic healing session. We do 30 minutes of coaching, 30 minutes of healing. We go deep into why you're stuck, get clarity as to why you're stuck, and then we remove those stuck energies in the healing portion, and you're like a new shiny penny. I just said shiny penny, and then Shannon Penny logged on. Coincidence? I don't know, but there's pennies from heaven going on today. Michelle says, I have a group of pranic healers doing healings on me till I go for my next doctor's appointment. I'm very grateful for my group. Yeah, there are certain groups around the world that will do group healings, but there's another word that I'm looking for people who have severe injuries. So if somebody was in a car accident and they're close to death, there'll be groups of pranic healers that will heal that person around the clock, 24 hours a day for a few days, so the person gets the energy they need to transform and to stay in their physical body. Because if you're not in your physical body, you can't spiritually grow and evolve. That's why we have physical bodies. If you were done on the physical plane, if you were done on the earth plane, you wouldn't be in a physical body. So the fact that you incarnated means you have lessons to learn, you have experiences to have. So embrace it, celebrate it, whoop whoop, give it a shout out. And that's it, guys. So I'm going to do some more of my practice before I work on clients this evening. If you have any questions, go to ChristianRLong.com. If you have any other questions, you can email me at ChristianRLong@gmail.com. And that's it. Thanks for the love. Thanks for sharing your time and energy with me. Hopefully you got value out of this. Adriana is sending hearts all over the place with her amusing sense of humor, which is adorable. And you're welcome, Michelle. Lots of light, love, and power from God and our teacher, Grandmaster Cho Koksui, into your life. Stephen would say, it would be cool to see if any pranic healers can heal the 4 areas of prior brain bleeding and back tissue between the top 7 vertebrae and bottom vertebrae. Well, we've been successful with brain conditions. We've been successful with spine conditions, so I don't see why not. You just need the right group of people, probably advanced practitioners. Love you guys. This is ChristianRLong, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful, what day are we on? Beautiful Tuesday, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, namaste. Bye-bye.